Yeah, well, what is breaking news is, as well as that 5.8, the Finance Department told me yesterday that in addition to what the current rate of inflation is, the conflict in Ukraine and the sanctions are likely to produce an additional 4% inflation on top of that, right? So we're looking at potentially up to 9% inflation. Now, against that background, could I first of all just ask you, because I didn't make this point earlier, to actually condemn what Aer Lingus and IAG are doing in terms of demanding pay cuts from a company we subsidised during COVID, and to commend them in voting overwhelmingly against those pay cuts, particularly, and I didn't make this point, because the same company, IAG, simultaneously gave British Airways workers, the same staff, a 10% pay increase as a reward for what they'd done during COVID. Right? That is shocking. And secondly, what are you going to do to increase the minimum wage for low-paid workers? I met this week with private security workers who are on less than €12 an hour. Don't they deserve a decent pay increase?
There is a very significant issue facing the country in respect of inflation. It's a global phenomenon. There are no easy answers to it. And the Ukraine-Russian war, the invasion by Russia of Ukraine, an illegal war, is going to add to inflation, and particularly energy prices. I said earlier today that the country in 2020 would have spent about $3.4 billion in imported fuels. And in 2021, the country has spent $6.2 billion. That gives you an illustration. It's a $2.8 billion increase in the bill for imported fuels, and that reflects the higher prices on international markets. A year ago, a barrel of oil was about $64 a barrel on international markets. Today, it's $110 a barrel. Oil prices have risen $14 a barrel over the past week. This is not the government's fault. This is just the reality of international situation in relation to energy. The same has applied to natural gas. You got your chance. Natural gas costs 400 pence a therm today on international markets, compared with 40 pence a therm last March. And gas prices have soared 220 pence a therm over the past week. So we're going to face a very difficult situation. And I gave the figures on wages over the last while also, which have increased actually over the period. And in terms of government's response, we've increased the fuel allowance from €630 to €1,039 since we came into office, just a little over a year and a half ago. If you add on the 200 electricity payment, that's $1,239 that we're giving to low-income families. That's we've doubled basically support to low-income families in relation to fuel supports. You know, we've taken other measures as well to support families, either with medical costs or in respect of reducing transport fees as well from the end of April. That will benefit about 800,000 users, and then reducing school transport fees. The budget itself had about $1 billion in measures to support people in social protection and tax relief for workers, about 630 million there. But we are and will be working with the European Commission in respect of the energy situation and energy prices, and the European Commission will be coming forward with a further publication in relation to that in the next 10 days following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But we are facing a very, very difficult situation because of the war and because of President Putin's behaviour and activity. No question about that. And there's no easy answers to it, and it's pointless coming in, you know, and making ideological points or whatever. And I think that's the point I would make there. In respect of the Aer Lingus situation, as I said earlier, the government supported the workers in Aer Lingus through the EWIS and supported the company along with other companies in aviation. And many people in the House were calling for that. We did that. And I think the workers should be treated fairly and, in my view, on a par with what's happening with UK employees working in the same overall company. And on mandatory retirement, we support the end of mandatory retirement, and the Pensions Commission has reported on that, and that will come back to government also.
Question.